Winter is the season when blood sugar control often becomes more difficult, not because people suddenly lose discipline, but because biology shifts. Cold weather, limited sunlight, slower activity levels, heavier comfort foods, and disrupted circadian rhythms all contribute to reduced insulin sensitivity. Yet this is precisely when nature offers one of its most metabolically active foods, the lingonberry. Known across Nordic forests as a bright red berry that thrives in harsh conditions, it has become an unlikely candidate for improving glucose regulation in a time of year when many people struggle the most. And contrary to what many expect, its benefits are not rooted in low sugar or carbohydrate restriction. Instead, lingonberries may improve insulin sensitivity and blunt post-meal glucose spikes, even though they contain natural sugars, making them an encouraging example of how whole food complexity can outperform simplified, low-carb logic. Recent research from Finland, Sweden, and Norway is drawing worldwide attention because the berries appear to outperform many engineered low-carb snack foods in controlling postprandial glucose. In several trials, participants who consumed lingonberry purees, freeze-dried powders, or whole berries with a carbohydrate-rich meal experienced significantly smaller glucose spikes and a more stable return to baseline. This happened despite the fact that the berry adds carbohydrates rather than removing them. The effect was not subtle. It suggested a direct metabolic influence that goes deeper than fiber content alone. People who typically see sharp glucose surges from bread or starch found that adding lingonberries led to a smoother, gentler glucose curve, one associated with better long-term metabolic outcomes. At the core of this effect is the berry's extraordinary concentration of polyphenol. Lingonberries contain high levels of proanthocyanidins, anthocyanins, quercetin glycosides, and unique tannins that interact directly with digestive enzymes, glucose transporters, and metabolic signaling pathways. These compounds seem to slow the activity of alpha-glucosidase and other enzymes that rapidly break down starch into glucose, resulting in a slower, more controlled release of sugars into the bloodstream. But the influence continues even after digestion. Polyphenol appear to enhance insulin receptor activity in peripheral tissues, helping cells take up glucose more efficiently. They also reduce low-grade chronic inflammation, one of the hidden drivers of insulin resistance, by decreasing inflammatory cytokine production in the gut and liver. One of the most promising mechanisms relates to the gut microbiome. Lingonberries feed specific bacterial populations that produce short-chain fatty acids, such as butyrate and propionate, which have systemic metabolic benefits. Butyrate in particular improves insulin sensitivity, strengthens the gut barrier, and reduces liver fat accumulation. Winter diets often lack fresh plants and fermentable fibers, leading to a microbiome shift that promotes metabolic sluggishness. Adding lingonberries back into winter meals may not only provide immediate glucose support but also gradually reshape gut ecology toward one that favors stable metabolism and reduced inflammation. These long-term effects may be part of why Nordic populations have traditionally used lingonberries through winter, not just for taste but for resilience. Another reason these berries show such promising metabolic effects is their unusually high skin-to-pulp ratio. Most of their polyphenol, fibers, and tannins are located in the skin, and because lingonberries are tiny, you consume much more skin surface area per gram compared to larger fruits. This means the concentration of beneficial compounds is far denser than in many common berries. Even a small serving, 1 or 2 tablespoons, can deliver meaningful physiological effects. And because the berries are naturally tart, people tend to eat them in moderation, reducing the risk of overconsuming sugar while still gaining the metabolic benefits. There is also something important about their survival in cold climates. Plants that endure freezing temperatures produce defensive compounds that help them resist oxidative stress. These same compounds often play protective roles in human metabolism. Lingonberries store extraordinarily well because of these antioxidants. When frozen, they maintain their polyphenol content for months without significant degradation, making them an ideal winter fruit when fresh produce quality tends to decline. Even when cooked lightly, such as in warm porridges, sauces, or baked winter dishes, they retain a surprisingly high antioxidant content. Many berries lose their potency when heated, but lingonberries have a chemical profile that tolerates gentle cooking, a major advantage for winter comfort meals. From a practical standpoint, they offer remarkable flexibility. In Nordic cuisine, they appear next to savory dishes like meat, potatoes, grains, and root vegetables, which is exactly where their glucose-modulating effects matter most. Their tartness cuts through heavy flavors while reducing the metabolic burden of carbohydrate-rich meals. Mixed into morning oatmeal or yogurt, they soften the blood sugar rise of breakfast. Added to roasted winter squash or cabbage, they brighten flavor and support insulin sensitivity. Even a small spoonful alongside soups, stews, or whole grain breads can make a noticeable difference. The positivity of this research lies in the broader message it delivers. Metabolic support does not always require avoidance, restriction, or complicated routines. Sometimes health improves not by removing foods, but by adding the right ones. Lingonberries represent a shift toward inclusion, bringing in nutrient-dense, polyphenol-rich, winter-hardy plants that help the body do what it is already trying to do: maintain stable blood sugar, preserve insulin sensitivity, and reduce inflammation. They fit seamlessly into winter cooking and feel emotionally comforting rather than restrictive. And at a time of year when many people feel more vulnerable to cravings, fatigue, and fluctuating appetite, the idea that a small, flavorful berry can assist with metabolic balance is a hopeful and empowering message. What makes lingonberries especially appealing is that they align with how people naturally eat in winter: warmer foods, richer textures, and deeper flavors. They do not fight against seasonal eating patterns, they enhance them. Their benefits are accessible whether used fresh, frozen, or in minimally sweetened forms. And unlike many functional foods or supplements, they carry a long cultural history of winter use, suggesting that modern science is catching up to traditional wisdom. Taken together, the evidence points to a fruit that is more than a garnish or a holiday condiment. Lingonberries may be one of winter's most underappreciated tools for supporting insulin function, stabilizing glucose responses, and promoting long-term metabolic health. They show that metabolic resilience can come from nature's own cold-resistant plants, offering a gentle, flavorful, and scientifically grounded way to navigate the metabolic challenges of winter.